I was invited by Bashar organization to, they had an idea to do something for orphans. They were doing a lot of things, but not in the sense of culture and arts. They watched my last movie that was about orphans of Bosnian war, brother and sister. The movie was called Children of Sarajevo, and they thought I could be most suitable person to work with. And I was really happy because it meant that there is a chance for me to do something also, because I heard a lot about Syria, about refugees, but I didn't know how I can contribute to that. And then I find it as a great opportunity to do so. You know, for me, the thing that I will never forget is the eyes of the children, the orphan children, because, you know, with such a great, incredible loss, it's something that you can feel just by looking into their eyes. And it was the time that I laughed a lot, because Syrian and all the kids that I met were really cheerful and great as all the kids in the world. At the same time, we were laughing so much, we had a great time together, but you always felt this sadness deep down in your heart just by looking at them and knowing that they've been through such horrible things. Like Isa, one of the boys from the movie, was also savagely wounded. The same bomb killed his father and wounded him. He came to Turkey, the Turkish doctors saved his life, his leg. But you know, when you look this young life, I mean, at that time he was, I think, 8 years old when it happened to him. When you look, you know, this young life, young heart that is so wounded, I think you cannot stay cold. Well, I have experience working with children, and we did these workshops in order to make some days of those kids happier, you know. And also parallelly with that, we thought if we find someone who can be suitable for a movie, let's pick them. And for example, when I saw Isa first time in the orphanage, we did this improvisation little scene. He was very shy, but very dedicated in the scene. I saw that he's very concentrated. And somehow I look at him in his eyes and I liked him so much. I think that we established heart-to-heart connection right away. And then I made one photo of him in front of the orphanage, and I thought this boy is going to be like a role in a movie. I didn't have a clue about the story or anything, but I just knew. For example, Ahmed told me immediately, I'm a great actor. You don't need to even direct me. And he was right, you know, he is an amazing actor. Or Mateus, who was, when we asked him, you know, try to cry in this moment when this boy do this to you in this improvisation, he cried so sincerely that we started to cry after him, you know. And then he just dried his eyes and looking at us like, why are you crying? I was just acting. So I think that for the kids, except of the talent that those kids are really, really so talented, it's also important motivation. So they have to be really dedicated, and they have to want to do it, and they also have to trust to the director, first of all. So I think that we established a lot of trust, a lot of love and support with each other, and the filming process was really without any problems. Well, that was a kind of tricky thing, because I knew that I'm working with the traumatized children who went through a lot, and I needed to protect this process. I needed to protect them and their emotions from the filming. And then I based this story on their lives, but I also created something that was different in the script. So for them, that they feel that they are acting and being someone else, let's say. And I think that this kind of distance, little distance, was enough for them to feel safe and not to be exposed more than it's necessarily. Well, I prepared the kids very carefully for those scenes. I knew that I will have few scenes that will evoke some events that they've been through. And we talked openly because kids, I take kids very seriously and I respect their also personalities. So I talked to them, asking them, are you gonna be okay if we do it like this, like that? And then I think they were really well prepared. They knew exactly what they are supposed to do. And I think in that sense, it was much harder for us watching them, you know, and thinking about, oh, it really happened to them, than for the kids who really went through the same events. So in these scenes, like when Ahmed is meeting his father, we all know that Ahmed's father is missing. And for all the crew, it was like devastating moment. And Ahmed told me after the scene, you know, I don't cry. I was crying for 1 year after he was missing, and then I stopped. So you know, when you see that the little kid can and have to go through such a serious emotional process, then you really think, oh my God, those kids are really my heroes. I've learned as a grown-up woman so much from them. I think for me it was the hardest to build up the structure of this film because I wanted to tell all the stories. And I think that even now I'm very sad that I couldn't say more about the girl who is singing at the ballet Kligo. I'm sad that I couldn't say more about Tuka's character or Mahran, or, you know, because I think that for me it was the hardest to make the selection. I liked all of the kids and I think I met too many stories and it wasn't easy for me to make selection. On the other hand, I also had to work very fast because the kids are growing very fast. So for example, Isa, from September when we had like test shootings until January when we actually start filming, he grew up so much that he was on the edge, you know, to be grown up, you know, because especially the boys during summer, they grow up. So I think that in all this, I try to follow the logic of life, if I could say like that, everyday life. So it's not structured in like 3-act. So the structure of this film is very fluent because I tried to follow everyday life of refugee kids. Well, I think that every mother, every sister can basically see in those kids her own relatives, her own kids, her own siblings, you know, because what my goal and our goal was basically to introduce those kids in all the details of their everyday life, in all the specificness of their characters, of their dreams, of their projections of things, in the humor that they have, so that I think that people can relate more to specific kids, and that way I think that they can think about all this phenomenon of orphan children more, and hopefully maybe if they cannot help with something concrete, at least they can smile. They can give them smile and more understanding, and I think it will be very good. I think, you know, more the time is passing by. I think that everybody is admitting it, even those that we didn't expect that will admit, because I talked with people abroad as well. So Turkey is the only country that really opened their door to everybody. There was no selecting refugees who can or cannot enter. It was just open door, and all these almost 4 million people entered. Thanks to that fact, those people are alive. Thanks to that fact, those kids are alive. I met so many kids who had some wounds or psychological damages, and Turkish doctors saved their lives, saved their legs, saved their arms, and they also treated them. So it's huge. It's something that I think at this moment we cannot be very objective towards that. I think that history will show us how huge this step was and how big step for the whole humanity was the fact that Turkey did it. And also what I saw on the spot is that, for example, and we always say, because we consider that Turks have something that we as Bosnians don't have. They are much more organized, they are much more disciplined. And then we think, watching these camps, refugee camps, it's only possible to see it in Turkey because in such a short time you can see the school in the camp, you can see the whole, all facilities were there. Of course, there are many people who live in normal apartments it's 4 million people, so you can meet different levels of their life, quality of life and their decisions. Some of them are great students, some of them are, doing some physical work. So in that sense, it's really fascinating. What also I think we reflect in the movie is the fact that in Turkey you cannot say on the street, this is the refugee. The refugees fit in organically so that they are not others, they are not so different by looking at them. So people live in the same neighborhoods, they relate to each other, and I think it's something that is all clear also in the film that we made.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a lot of questions.
Thank you.